I used to think healthy eating for a whole family had to mean complicated meals and hours in the kitchen. But Hungry Root has changed that for me completely. Shopping, planning, and cooking food really can be simple and stress-free. Imagine having your weekly cart filled for you, meals planned, and all of it tailored to your preferences. That's what Hungry Root does, and they do it well. With over 15,000 recipes, many ready in 15 minutes or less, and high-quality grocery options, I've been able to get meals on the table fast without compromising on ingredients. They screen out over 200 additives, no high fructose corn syrup, no artificial sweeteners, and they carry brands I trust like Oatly and Vital Farms. Since using Hungry Root, I've cut back on takeout. I waste less food, and I've even saved money with their best price program. Here's how to try it. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg and use code Dr. Meg. That's hungryroot.com/Dr. Meg. Code Dr. Meg to get 40% off and a free item in every box for life.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
What happens when the kids don't need you like they used to? For so many moms, me included, the transition from full-time parent to rediscovering your own identity can feel overwhelming and a little lonely.
This is Parenting Great Kids with Dr. Meg Meeker.
Karen Johnson, better known as the 21st century stay-at-home mom, is a former teacher turning parenting writer and author of, listen to this, great, What Do I Want to Be When They Grow Up? Karen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Basically, I was with my kids a lot growing up, but the transition from having, and we had 4, going from even my oldest to kindergarten to first grade, and then my last out of college, it's hard. I mean, there's sort of a grieving process that you go through, and there really is this identity crisis like, well, okay, you walk around the house and you go, yeah, I have a job and I could do that, but I loved being able to be with my kids and do things for my kids. Talk to us about the transition that all women go through.
Sure. So I'm not there yet. I think that the reason that this book sort of came to be is because I'm starting to think about what I'm going to do. My kids are 16, 14, and 12. So I'm still very much in the soup of, I live in my minivan. We are driving 900 places every day.
Yep.
But they are at school all day. I did walk away from my teaching career a long time ago to be a stay-at-home mom. And I just started having conversations. I've had several girlfriends who are older and who have gone through it. I've watched my mom go through it. I've watched, other women go through it. And I've started thinking, what are we all going to do? Yeah. So many of us, my husband's path has been just a little bit more linear, and it hasn't been easy, but he's just going to keep working. He's always worked.
Yeah. They basically wear 2 hats. They have work and they have home. But we women wear so many.
Yes.
We're a caregiver, we're a mother, we're a cook, we're a chauffeur, we're a sister, and we're very involved in all these different aspects of our lives. I think you're very smart, to start here in anticipating what is going to be happening. So talk about identity. Talk about a mother's identity and how you anticipate yours shifting.
Well, you know, I talk quite a bit in the book about how I've gone through several identity changes. My transition to stay-at-home mom life was abrupt and not at all how I thought it would be. I did
Mm.
choose it. It wasn't forced upon me, but it wasn't what I loved teaching. I expected to be a working mom. I was pregnant. We were moving to a new state. I had full intentions of being a working mom. And then I just sort of veered off course and we decided to take a different path. So there was a huge identity shift there to go from
Yeah.
professional with a master's degree, an income, all just suddenly
Yeah.
this whole new life. And it
Yeah.
was so difficult in so many ways. And I didn't know for years why it was so difficult. And it wasn't until I started doing a lot of self-reflection and learning about myself that I started realizing, oh, that's why it was hard. And that's why it was hard. And that's why it was hard. So as I start thinking about this next change, let me learn from this other time in my life when I feel like the rug was pulled out from under me and I was so unsure of myself. Why is this not how I thought it would go? I think I'm just like, I owe it to myself to be a little bit more prepared this next time because I know it's going to be hard. I am completely consumed with my children's lives and everything that they need from me. I am on standby for everything all the time.
Mhm.
And then it's going to be quiet. I'm going to have huge chunks of time where I'm not quite as needed. And so it's really for me more about just let me learn about myself now, figure out where I need to thrive as a person, as a mom, as a professional, as a wife, as a friend, and start doing the work so that, you know, I don't know if there will be this moment where the last one drags away and it's like in a movie. I'm sure it's not as
Yeah.
simple as that, but it happens. It's coming. But, this time is coming my way, and so that's kind of where I am.
Well, and I think we kind of get prepared all along, and I was saying when our oldest went to first grade, that was tough for me. I had 3 others at home and people would say, why in the world weren't you happy? Well, not really. I really like being with my kids. It wasn't so much that I just really enjoyed being with them. And then the last went off to kindergarten and to first grade. And there is this hole. Um, the jolt for me was very similar to the jolt that you had. The biggest jolt I had, I think, is that I was doing my residency, working crazy, 90 hours a week. Okay. I was young. My husband was home with 2 of our kids. And then we had decided when I was done, I would stop and be home full time and he would go back. So I went from working 90 hours a week in Milwaukee to moving to Massachusetts. He's working 90 hours a week. I knew nobody and I'm not a doctor anymore. I hit a depression. I will tell you.
Oh,
I was depressed. I was really depressed because I didn't have friends. Nobody could identify and I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? I love
just like
I'm supposed to be thrilled.
sold.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled, but being a pediatrician was in my blood. I mean, it's just, it still is there. And I love being a mom. But that transition, I think, is really hard. But I think all through the years, as your kids are growing up, you do this sort of letting go and then letting go and then really letting go. And so I think it makes it easier when they finally go away.
Yeah.
And to realize that there's a lot of fun ahead of that. I will tell you, there's nothing greater than having your adult kids be your friend. It is so much fun. You can go to Italy together. You can drink wine together. I mean, it's fun. Yeah. It's just really, really fun. So, okay. So talk about during the transition, whenever you shift from make a major life change, for you moving and then leaving your job, and now you're home full time with your kids. Is there a grieving process that goes on before you move ahead, do you think?
I think so. I don't think I experienced that when I became a stay-at-home mom because I was really excited and I expected to love every minute of it. So I worked until the day before my first son was born, as many of us do, because we're given such maternity leave. So he was born in November. I was a teacher. I worked until the day before he was born. And I was going to have to go back and finish the school year. My husband was a full-time student and I was carrying us on insurance and things like that. And so I knew that I had, X number of days for maternity leave. So that's what so many of us do. So I definitely, I was so excited. I had wanted to be a mom my whole life. I could not wait for this. And the grief for me came after he was born very quickly in waves because I didn't love every minute like I expected to. And like you said, I think a big part of it was I used to be this teacher in this bustling, busy building with all of these kids in front of me discussing literature and theme and character development and having these intellectual conversations. And now I'm just hanging out with this little blob child who's adorable, but like doesn't really.
And he's throwing up all over you. And it's like you don't have nice clothes on anymore. I mean, what is the deal? And you're all by yourself.
And it was the absence of intellectual stimulation that I did not realize how much I needed that. And, I just remember looking at the clock some days at like 10 o'clock in the morning and being like, what are we going to do all day? How is this not this overwhelmingly fulfilling, and so that's when I think sort of the grief started happening with me. And so that's why I think I do anticipate now having grief when my kids are all gone. I know that will be hard, but I'm trying to stay ahead of it a little bit by, like I said, kind of preparing and learning about some steps that I can take now. The teenager thing, I had a lot of friends who also experienced grief because the teenagers, I'm really lucky. My kids still very much want to hang out with us. So I really love that. They're teens. They're often in their room a lot with the door closed and we give them their space. But, I was trying to watch Friends last night and just zone out because I was so tired. And she just plopped down right next to me at like 10:45 and wanted to chat. And I was like barely awake.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, we're hanging out.
She wants to talk. Wake up. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. So yes, I actually have a chapter on motherhood grief. And I think, when you think of the word grief, people always think of death or they always think of these. There's so many other pieces and it could just be, truly like you're talking about kindergarten or first grade. Every time my oldest does anything, it really rips my heart out because it's our first time through. So when he went to kindergarten, I sobbed. I was inconsolable. And then when my other two went, I was a little bit more like, okay. And then when he went into high school, the summer before he went, he's not leaving, he's still here. But just the fact that this is the last 4 years, I cried all summer. And now he's a sophomore. And every time we talk about college, I get very like, oh, here it comes. Here come the emotions.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think I talk about how I think it's really important with grief that we sit in it and we let ourselves feel it. I think there's also so much value in talking to moms that are ahead of us down the road that can sit with us and hold our hands and be like, let it out. Cry.
Exactly. I think it's terribly important. And here's why. Because if you don't grieve and you don't accept what's happening, you'll stay needing your kids. You'll stay wanting your kids to still need you. And I can't tell you how many times I hear that. Well, my kids still need me even though they're 21. No, they shouldn't. Not in the way they used to. You need to cut them, particularly boys. If you don't cut them and let them go and put that distance between you, which is very, very painful, they will be gone for good. But if you let them go and say, you're on your own, you're doing everything, you're going to do your laundry, cooking, whatever it is at college, call me once a week, then they feel like, oh, good. And then they'll want to be back with you. But so many times I think out of our own neediness, we just want to hang on and hang on. You're right about the emotional load. You talk very candidly about guilt and shame and anxiety in motherhood. How can mothers stop internalizing all those emotions and start just giving themselves some grace?
Whew, it's a tough one. I'm very much a work in progress with it. One of the things that I talk about quite a bit, I have learned so much in therapy, and I'm a therapy for life kind of girl. I know that it's not feasible for everybody financially and time-wise and all that, but there's so much value in learning about yourself, whether it's through just self-reflection or talking to somebody that one of the things that she taught me was I catch myself and she says that I have to stop shoulding myself. I
Right.
should blank. I should not blank. And then I started touching shame. I should not be this emotional about this. I
Right.
should be farther along in my healing process about this. And she says, this is what women have. We have to stop shoulding ourselves. Whatever we're feeling, whatever stage we're in of healing, of grief, whatever, just being there
Yeah.
in that. And motherhood is painful.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. I mean, when I had to walk away and leave my firstborn kindergartner in class, I remember just being like, well, do I just go home? Do I just
Right.
turn away and walk out and
Right.
leave? I had never not it been either, even if the grandparents had him for like the day growing up, they would still check in with me. I had never not had access to him for that many
Exactly. Yep.
his
No.
5 years
Yeah.
of life. And I just remember being like, maybe I can think of a reason to email the teacher. Like my head was spinning.
I'm giggling because my daughter's a teacher, and and you know what? And she lives a mile from me, and she has 3 kids, and I just dropped one off. So I mean, there's so much fun ahead. But anyway, but she gets that, the
Yeah.
parents that'll just after you and after you and after you. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt. Mhm.
No, but I think about that. I think this teacher probably has labeled that's a first time kindergarten mom and that's a veteran kindergarten mom. And when my last one left for kindergarten, I was like, okay, you got this. I mean, he was ready. I was ready. I was like a totally different mom.
Yeah.
But so yes, I think that we have to let ourselves feel the pain and feel all of that. The guilt, I talk a lot about how I think motherhood guilt is so powerful because we have been taught as women and girls to live with guilt from such a young age.
Yeah.
And so by the time motherhood guilt comes around, we almost just embrace it like it's
We're
just
pros. We're
supernatural.
pros at it.
Yes.
Yep. Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
aggression. Like, of course I'm going to feel guilty. And so, I talk about like how like you see these zombie moms like shuffling through parent teacher conferences and they're just drop dead exhausted because they've been up since 4:45 this morning and they've worked a full day or they've been with their little ones a full day and have dinner cooking on the stove and then the uniform is in the wash because I'm making and they're just the wheels are spinning and they're dragging themselves through and they just feel so much guilt if I don't also volunteer for the book fair or oh what if I miss the little tiny 5th grade musical that my kid probably doesn't even want to be at tonight or
Right.
whatever it is.
Right.
And I talk about how I have a wonderful husband who's the best dad in the world, but I don't think dads usually feel the dad guilt as much as moms feel mama guilt.
No.
They
Yeah.
with it better. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't
know.
I don't think they do because I don't think they put the expectations on themselves that mothers put on their selves. And I think the reason is we live with a lot of peer pressure, our own peer pressure. And we compare what we're doing with what other mothers are doing. And we're convinced they're doing it so much better and we need to do what they're doing. And there's no end to it. There's just no end. We've got to feed them better food. Everything needs to be organic. We've got to have water filters. We've got to have the right tires on our car. You name it. And there's no end. And so feeling guilty is just, it just sort of sucks the life out of you. And I think, even sometimes I tell mothers, if you have a toddler, I said, if your kid is 2 or 3 years old, if he's alive at the end of the day, you've won.
Yes.
So
Oh my gosh.
keep your
I
kid alive.
wish
Just keep him alive. Yeah.
I wish I could go back and find myself when I was in those baby days. I had 3 kids in 5 years. And I mean, I got home with the last one. I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and a newborn. And I just want to go back and find her and like take my face in my hand and be like, you're doing a good job. Like, it is okay.
Every child is different. Some love reading, others thrive with hands-on projects, and some just need a little more space to learn at their own pace. That's why I'm excited to share about K-12, a flexible, tuition-free online public school option for families. K-12 powered schools serve students from kindergarten through 12th grade with accredited interactive learning. Their curriculum adapts to your child's learning style and pace, and all their teachers are state certified and trained in virtual education. And it's not just sitting at a screen all day. K-12 blends interactive lessons, tech, hands-on learning, and even offers field trips, extracurriculars, and social activities. You really can have flexibility and community all in one place. It's about giving your child the tools they need to succeed, not just in school, but in life. And with over 3 million families already enrolled, you're in great company. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12 and empower your student to reach their full potential now. Go to k12.com/Dr. Meg today to find a tuition-free K-12 powered school near you and enroll now. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/Dr. Meg. K12.com/Dr. Meg. You know, as a pediatrician, I've had so many parents tell me they want to connect with their kids, but just don't know how to start. And that's exactly why I love what FamGabs is doing. FamGabs is a 70-card deck of deep, open-ended questions created by a child therapist with over 16 years of experience working with families. These cards are designed to do more than just start conversations. They help build real connection. I've used them with my grandkids, and I'm always amazed at what comes up. One of the questions sparked a beautiful conversation about friendship, something I never would have gotten by just asking, "How was your day?" The deck even includes bonus questions for parents to help us grow in how we talk with our kids. If you've ever felt stuck in the loop of one-word answers, FamGabs can help your family grow closer in a way that feels natural and fun. Search FamGabs on Amazon and use promo code DrMegPod during checkout to get 10% off your order. That's FamGabs on Amazon. Use promo code DrMegPod and get 10% off your order.
Do you have a strong-willed or neurodivergent child who prefers to touch the hot stove, doesn't care about consequences, and melts down over changes in plans? Do not give eye contact or talk in that sweet voice when kids are upset. Do listen to the Calm Parenting podcast for positive, practical strategies that actually work with intense kids. Join me, Kirk Martin, to stop the yelling, defiance, and power struggles in our 22-minute episodes of the Calm Parenting podcast.
You know, and who cares if your house is a mess? One day it will be clean. And if you don't get enough rest, it's terrible, terrible. And I do think that self-care is extremely important for mothers, because I think the number one factor that prevents them from doing a better job parenting is exhaustion. Because they go to bed too late, they don't sleep well. You'll have a 2-year-old child who's up 3 times in the night, and it's like, no, you know what? He doesn't need you as much as you need your sleep. So let's take care of you. I mean, he's 2; he'll be fine. But I think we just don't cut ourselves enough slack. And I encourage mothers, sort of pick 3 things that are really important to you and just get those done each day, and forget about all the rest. You're not going to maybe have time for yourself. You're not going to get all the laundry done. Your kids are going to eat fast food sometimes. You're not always going to follow through with your discipline. Forget it. I mean, who cares? You talk about friendship and community, and how do relationships shift for mothers as they move from that what's next phase? And how can we build stronger friendships with women? Because our friend groups change as well when we go into a new phase. So how do we capitalize on that and build strong friendships with new women?
I think there's a couple things. Like you talked about the comparison. The comparison trap is so toxic, and I think that really prevents a lot of great friendships from flourishing. If you are friends with a woman and you feel a connection, but you're going to compare yourself to her and allow your self-worth and your views on your own mothering to be impacted if you're comparing I have friends who just naturally are very organized and they just have immaculate homes, or they're very fit and my best friend, she gets up and works out every single day. That's just a huge commitment for her. And there's so many ways we can all compare. At core, when you're I have a group of girlfriends here in Wisconsin that I've been friends with now for probably about 5 years. And when I'm with them, and we all parent so differently, I always come home feeling full, like my cup is full. We just laugh and we don't, really tend to pass judgment. We kind of recognize that we all do things a little bit differently. But I think that, trying really hard not to compare and just appreciate that we're all good moms. Some of them work, some of them don't. Some have 3 kids, some only have a couple, 2. I have the oldest. No one else has a 16-year-old, but there's a couple others who are teens. One has a 4-year-old at home. We're all across the map. But and then the other important piece, and I tell my daughter, I have a 14-year-old daughter. I tell her this all the time. It is so important for women to reach down and pull up the woman who's coming up, the ranks behind you. So when I go to a mom who's already been through high school, and I'm like panicking, for her to be like, you're going to be okay. Your kid's going to make it. You're going to make it. And so, I have a lot of friends who, we all have 6th grade boys, but a lot of them, that's their oldest. And this is their first entry into middle school. This is my 3rd time through. So I'm like, yeah, middle school is brutal, but you're going to be okay. I did it 2 other times. And so that's another, I think, a very important piece. If we can all just reach down to the next one coming up and grab her hand and be like, I've already been through it. You're going to be okay. Here are some things I know. You can take my advice or leave it. But those are some of the things that for me, really solidify a strong female friendship.
I agree. And I think it's nice to have female friends who are at different ages and different stages. And I love the idea about, encouraging somebody who's at a younger stage than you are, because it really helped me when our kids were going off to college, to even look at some friends and go, okay, well, they're still alive and they're still laughing and their kids are gone. So I think I'm going to be okay, but just to feel encouraged by that, I think it's extremely important. You write about that your other home is your minivan. I love it. And what would you say? Say there's a mom driving around in a minivan right now and she doesn't feel seen and she's unsure of who she is anymore. Talk to her now, please.
So one of the analogies that I think is really powerful that I talk about in the book is the ghost mom. I think a lot of us feel like we're ghosts a lot in motherhood, whether it's because so much of what we do is invisible work and our kids don't really realize how they're just magically registered for the thing that they're going to go do, and the paperwork is filled out and the uniform is clean and there's food prepared and all of the things that are invisible to our families. And because we put so much of ourselves in the back burner for so long that we often will feel like almost like an apparition in the background. And when you feel invisible or unappreciated or just maybe a little bit taken for granted at times, which sometimes happens, I think there's value in, I talk about putting color back into your portrait. So if you can picture, being a writer, I love analogies and metaphors. If you could picture, your family portrait on the wall and mom is just sort of grayed out in the background, we can go to our families and say, like, I feel underappreciated, I feel undervalued. And hopefully you have a supportive partner and we'll be like, I'm so sorry, we'll do better. But I also think we need to do it ourselves. And so I talk about, for me, during those really brutal baby toddler days, I would like to go back and find myself and say, I wish that I had done this exercise. Write out your name, Karen Johnson. Who is that person other than mom when she's not mom? And, Karen Johnson loves to write. Karen Johnson loves to read. She, think about who you are and then go do something with her. Go spend the day doing something with Karen Johnson, who you are outside of motherhood, and just sort of like, whether it's a passion or a hobby or something that you haven't been able to dedicate your time to, and try to put your own color back into your portrait. Because I think sometimes if we wait for other people to do that for us, they may not, one, know that we need it.
Yeah.
And two, may not realize how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Putting color, I love that analogy because it's perfect. Everybody in the family has different colors and they're vibrant, and there we are just in the background, sort of on fade. And that's how we perceive ourselves. And I think we've got to step out of that. You talk about dreaming again, giving ourselves permission to dream. And say it's really never too late to start something new, like pick up teaching again, start a hobby, go to cooking school if you always wanted to. But sometimes we just don't want to give ourselves permission to do that. But hanging on to a big part of ourselves that is not the mother is extremely important, I think.
Yeah. I mean, especially like you said, if we don't, when we finally have these long hours and days where maybe we're not quite as needed by our kids, if we don't take those opportunities to maybe put ourselves in the spotlight a little bit, do something for ourselves, the worry is that we would continue to be latched onto our kids in an unhealthy way, So it is hard because you have to let them go. And then you have to make, okay, now what's next for me? And so if you have a thriving career and you're like, I'm just going to continue thriving in my career. But for so many of us, especially if you went the stay-at-home mom route, there is sort of a what now question. I watched a really close friend go through it a few years ago, and she really struggled, and she was very open about her struggles. She ended up, realizing I have to do some things for me. So she went back to school. She was volunteering for a bit. She started a book club. And I've watched a lot of women sort of just dabble in some things. And I think that's okay. You don't necessarily have to have it figured out.
Right.
Yep. I was chatting with somebody the other day about how women and mothers have so much pressure, we have so much on our shoulders for all these years. It really should just be like a gift that you give yourself. Like, I'm going to just start thinking about what I might want.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be something huge, like a career that I'm just throwing myself into, or it might be something I'm just going to volunteer a couple days a week and fill my cup in that way.
And I love that you say that we should give ourselves freedom to do something that we just enjoy, that we haven't been able to do for years and years. And when you said that, I thought about, this is crazy, but one of the things that really relaxes me is I knit. I love to knit and watch Matlock reruns. Now, you know what? It's just what makes me happy. So I do it. That's what I like to do. You don't always have to be on and performing. For some women, it's going swimming, 3 times a week, or, like I said, working in a bakery or whatever. But to give ourselves permission to not always have to be excellent at something. I love that you're so open and honest. And in your writing, you use humor a lot, which is so helpful, because being able to look at ourselves and other people and just go, you know what, it's really not that big of a deal. And it's kind of funny too. Life is really hard. And a lot of it is hard enough that you just really have to pepper it with some humor. If you had one piece of encouragement to a mom younger than you, or a little older, who's facing a big life shift, take yourself back to leaving teaching, what would you tell that young Karen?
I do focus quite a bit on learning about yourself. I think if you're in the baby toddler days, I don't think there's much mental capacity for a mom to do much self-reflection. She's in survival mode. So it depends on what stage you're in. If you could learn a little bit about yourself and really identify what your top 3 core needs are, but it would help you thrive, I think that's so impactful. Knowing now that I need quiet time and peace and quiet to myself, alone time, and that I need intellectual stimulation, having known that 10, 15 years ago would have been monumental in my mental health journey, but I didn't really know it. But if you don't really have the capacity for that level of self-reflection, giving yourself grace and, like, you said, taking that comparison piece out. If your kids smiled today and feel loved and safe, you're doing a good job. I often will tell moms, write it on a Post-it. I'm a good mom. I'm doing a good job. And put it on your mirror just so you can physically read it. Just that affirmation for yourself. And don't be a martyr.
Yeah.
It's the self-care thing is tough because I think a lot of people, I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have somebody to watch my kids. I just can't do the self-care. And I totally get that. But that doesn't mean you need to exhaust yourself. If your kids are napping and your house is trashed, sit down and watch Netflix.
Your house it'll get clean again. It'll get dirty again. Let it go. It just let it go. But, and I would encourage mothers too, just figure out one thing that you need that makes you feel relaxed and calm and allow yourself to have that. Like you said, though, if you've got a little one and your brain is mush every day because you never sleep, give yourself the grace to say, I'm just going to get through the day. I'm just going to get through the day. And there will be a day, when I can do some of that self-reflection. My guest has been Karen Johnson. And she wrote, "What do I want to be when they grow up?" And I brushed my hair today. She's been featured in Scary Mommy, Today Parents, Parenting Teens and Tweens, and more. And as she said, she's a former high school English teacher. Great read. And Karen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
I stopped Googling parenting advice when I found this. Dr. Meg Meeker's PGK Insider community is where real parenting help lives.
There's a reason so many parents trust Dr. Meg Meeker. Now her courses, parenting forum, and trusted answers are all in one place, the PGK Insider community. Join free at meekerparenting.com. Real answers from a pediatrician who gets it.